All right, everybody, what is going on? I went ahead and did some stat calcs here for Gotenks. He doesn't come out for a little bit. We can actually pull up the timer here. Global, I don't believe, has gotten their data download at this point, but JP has gotten their data download. And if you go over here to Dokkan info, link in the description, you go to cards and then schedule. You can see right here, Gotenks drops in about 24 hours. This should be a global and JP same time release. Looks like there's also going to be a world tournament this weekend, which absolutely blows, but anyway, let's go ahead and look at Gotenks. As always, the stats are already on Twitter, and yeah, Gotenks is actually insane. This has got to be one of the better LRs that they've released this year. This guy's numbers are jumping off the page in several different scenarios. So I do just want to read his passive real quick, and then we'll get into the actual stat breakdown. But again, if you want to see the calcs, they're on Twitter. Here they are partially. Gotenks himself is covering them. Sorry about that. You can go check it out on Twitter. To go ahead and start with Gotenks, though, again, I'm just going to read his passive here, and then we'll jump in just kind of like the main other things. His one link that he's getting is Fused Fighter. That's his only defensive link. I'm assuming he's on a 200% leader skill, and then everything else is pretty much in his passive. His super attack effects, as you can see right here, are greatly raise attack and defense for both of them, so that's going to be a 50% attack and defense raise, which is pretty good. I believe that's all we really need to know for this Gotenks, other than his passive. Defensive parts of his passive, so he's getting 200% attack and defense here at the start of turn. He gets an additional 77% defense when receiving an attack. I believe this should activate like when the attack is launched at him. I believe this should work like Fusion Zamasu, for example, so that's pretty good. This will be in passive phase 2, by the way. If you guys haven't seen my how to calculate defense in Dokkan video, just kind of a general basic guide, go check that out. I talk about all the different terminology there. So passive phase 1, 200% defense. Passive phase 2, 77% defense when receiving an attack. So you'll never actually see this activated, but you'll see the symbol show up whenever he receives an attack, which is good. And then you get some damage reduction. Then he gets an additional 77% defense at the start of turn and 33% damage reduction when there's another final trump card category ally on the team. That's going to be pretty easy. This Gotenks is surrounded. First of all, he leads Majin Buu Saga. There are a ton of final trump card characters on Majin Buu Saga. Several of his categories are going to have final trump card characters. Fusions are pretty much all final trump cards. So, this is not going to be a very hard restriction, and it gives you extra damage reduction, and it gives you extra start of turn defense. So phase 1 defense, which is going to be 200% plus 77%, 277% defense in phase 1. And then we got some like rainbow orb changing, stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. And then he gets an additional 100% attack and defense when key is 12 or more. That's going to be in passive phase 2. He gets a bunch of attack. He does an additional. He gets crit, all this good stuff right here. And then down here, he has this little funny thing, which is a high chance of an additional 777% defense. That's a 50% chance of an additional 777% defense within the same turn when receiving a super attack. So if this guy's getting super attacked, he has a 50% chance to pretty much be invincible. This is going to be another passive phase 2 buff right here. So if you're counting your total passive phase 2 buffs, he got the 77% up here when receiving an attack, 100% when key is 12, and then 777% right here. So that mixed with all of his other buffs is going to make him really, really good. He does also have an active skill that gives him 77% defense, which is awesome. It can be activated after receiving an attack 3 or more times in battle, or when there's another final trump card category ally attacking the same turn starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle. Pretty easy conditions, so not too bad. It's an attack, and it does give him defense for 1 turn, again, making him pretty much invincible for that turn. So let's go ahead and move into the calcs, and we'll kind of break this down and talk about it. Let me go ahead and move Gotenks over here so we can look at him. So defense calcs. Defense stats going to be 15,506. He's a tech character. His stat sheet right here shows him at 10,506. So for a tech character, you're going to add 5,000 for rainbow, and then at 55%, you're going to add 12,506. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. That's a little better. Sorry, Gotenks. You're gonna have to get skinny there, buddy. Okay. So defense we went over 200% leader. is what I'm assuming. Again, his only defensive link is Fused Fighter. I think it's going to be pretty easy to get that activated for him across his teams. That gives you 5% defense at level 10. Right here in passive phase 1, we already discussed this. He gets 277%. That's 200% at the start of turn that he gets for free, and then 77% that he gets for having a final trump card category ally. Oh, hang on. Let me go up one. Skirt. Right here. Here we go. Sorry. Let me scoot up just a little bit there. Okay. So back to passive phase 1. You'll notice right here, this goes from 387 to 389. The reason for that is because I'm hiding the, oops, sorry. Right here, let me, how do I unhide rows? There we go. This calc doesn't have assumes his active skill's not activated, so that's why this is hidden right here. I still have the row on there because it was part of my template, but for this calc, for the first one that I did, kind of like the minimum scenario, he does not have his active skill in this one, so I want to go over this one first. Anyway, so 200% that he gets at the start of turn, 77% that he gets for having a final trump card category ally. And then in passive phase 2, he gets the 77% when receiving an attack, assuming it's just a normal, and then 100% when key is 12. So that'll activate on super attack. And then we discussed already that he greatly raises attack and defense on super attack. And he can do 3 of those. So he gets one at like 18 key, I believe. He gets his normal one, and then he can get his hidden potential as well. So this is what you're looking at in terms of his defense. So even in a minimalistic scenario at Rainbow, he's pretty easily getting to 2.1 million defense with quite a bit of damage reduction. So this is going to be a really, really good character. His starter turn defense isn't going to be all that great. You know, it's not super good, but it does go up rather quickly, you know, just because, especially if you're going to receive a super attack, that 777% that he gets, you know, at that point is going to kind of explode his defense really high. That coupled with the damage reduction is going to make this guy a lot tankier in slot 1 than I think people are going to give him credit for. Maybe initially, just, you know, looking at his kit. But I don't know. I don't think anybody's really downplaying this character, so that's good. On this side, it's just with Gotenks with 40% support, so the only thing that changes is this line right here. We add in an extra 40% for his support, and you can see his numbers go up a little bit. Not a ton, but it does go up some, which is good. Moving down into this next section right here, again, the only thing that changes is we add in the active skill right here. So the active skill is giving him an extra 77% defense, with everything else assumed the same. And you can see, again, it starts really jumping up his defense. This number right here should literally be 77% like higher. So if I were to take, you know, this number multiplied by 1.77, you see it gets us back to the 3761. That's because active skill buffs are in their own phase, and they provide just like a direct buff to everything else. So like these numbers right here are all just going to be, if you took this and multiplied it by 1.77, that's what you're going to get right here. So again, I go over that in my video a little bit. It's just that it's its own phase, but just wanted to kind of show you guys, you know, like how much bigger is this number than this number? It's like, well, 77% higher. So, and then, yeah, again, with support, this guy's defense starts getting crazy. So now moving into the last 2 scenarios that I calculated right here. Again, this guy's defense is absolutely just like, I don't know, he's a menace. I almost can't fit it all on the screen. In fact, I can't. Let me, oh no, I'm scrolling too much. I'm sorry. Let me go down 1 square. There we go, because we don't need to see like that top line anymore. So again, this run right here is assuming that the active skill is not activated, so I can go ahead and just hide that row right there, so we can ignore that. And you guys can see that extra 777% defense makes his defense explode. So if this guy eats a super attack and that activates, I like, this guy has, you know, cell max levels of defense at that point. I mean, if that guy, like, if you get his active skill turn, you get the 777% and you triple super, this guy's like he's not taking damage, right? Like, this is insanity. Plus damage reduction. I mean, look at this dude. I mean, like, absolutely, just look at this Gotenks right here. Look at him. You guys see that thing swinging right there? Oh my goodness. That's what he's about to do. He's going to lay that on like every enemy in the game. So very curious to see where content is headed, because we don't have any bosses designed around a character that's got defense like this, you know. Like we don't have bosses that can handle this at the moment. And his offense isn't shabby either. This guy's going to be doing some real damage there as well. So I think Gotenks is crazy. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If you have any questions about the calculations and where I got the numbers and how everything's calculated, let me know. One thing that Proton pointed out, and I do want to point out here, he mentioned it in a comment on my how to calculate defense video, is that technically your passive phase 1 does come, like if you're going in order of operations, it does technically go before links. So really this should be like defense, 200% leader skill, and then passive phase 1. Typically the only reason I do these 3 first every time, one is because Proton mentions this as well, but multiplication is commutative. So like as long as you're doing these phases, it doesn't really matter what order you do it in. It does matter a little bit for Dokkan because of how they round, but it's not going to make a significant material difference to your calculations. So for me, I just do it in this order because these are typically static. So I just like having those first every time because like this could all change. Like, you know, these could, I can do different variables with these. So just having this stuff to stay the same for me every time whenever I'm doing my templates, that's typically why I just do these 3 first. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I could just swap it, but I'm also not rounding correctly. I'm just doing it, you know, I'm just letting Excel do its auto rounding, or I guess Google Sheets, but anyway, you guys don't care about that. Let me know what you guys think about Gotenks. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, if you have any questions, let me know down below. Let me know if you're going to be summoning for Gotenks. Again, I don't know that I can tell you to summon. I don't know I can say, hey, be sure to summon for Gotenks. That sounds like a great idea. But what I can say is I do think that if you summon for him, you're going to end up getting a lot of value out of this guy. Remember that this is kind of situational a little bit down here. But even like without the active skill turn, this guy getting up to like, you know, 8, 9, 6, 7 million defense with damage reduction is absolutely insane. So, you know, let me know if you guys plan on summoning. Let me know if you're saving your stones for anniversary. Keep in mind, anniversary is coming up. You know, it's going to be at the end of January. So we've kind of got like 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5, like 6 or 7 weeks before anniversary. So if you're starting to think about saving stones, you know, plus we're going to have the New Year step-up banners. People are going to want to have about maybe 200 to 300 stones on the ready for that. So if you're kind of factoring the 300 stones there, you're thinking about anniversary coming up. You know, I can't tell you to summon for this Gotenks, but I would say it's looking like anniversary is going to be fusion themed. And this guy is going to work really well with other fusions and is a really strong unit. So, again, I can't tell you to summon, but if you did, you know, this is a character that's got a lot of teams. He's got a lot of categories. He's got a lot of value. Notice 2 characters that you see here that are lined up to get easy A's during this next anniversary. So, just keep that in your mind, okay? And let me know if you guys are summoning. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.